All right, so what do we have next? Oh, yeah, this is actually something that someone was asking about earlier, so let's do it. We are moving into HiveScience news because recently there's been a change. There's been a change in the name. So I don't know if you remember, it's been a little while ago now. Well, not that long ago. It was back in May, I think. I talked about changing the common name of what used to be called the gypsy moth to the spongy moth because the term gypsy is derogatory and we should not use it. I shouldn't even be saying it, maybe. But yeah, Gary was never really an atheist. Check it out. So, murder hornets have a new common name, the northern giant hornet. Murder hornets was never the common name for these, by the way. It was a media name. Media nickname, the common name has always been Asian giant hornets. Worries over rising anti-Asian bias added urgency to picking a new name for Asian giant hornets. And this is one I actually don't agree with, and I'll talk to you about why. But what has been called a murder hornet or Asian giant hornet now has a somewhat official name, maybe kinder name. Meet the northern giant hornet. And that's what the Entomological Society of America, or ESA, announced July 25th as the preferred plain English common name for big, orange, and black Vespa mandarinia. The choice has at least as much to do with people as it does with hornets. It's a celebrity as insects go. It's a celebrity as insects go. By 2019, the species had hitchhiked across the Pacific and was already nesting in Canada, probably also on the U.S. side of the border. News stories exclaimed over hornet queens as long as a human thumb in the hornets' late summer raiding parties that mass slaughtered whole hives of adult honeybees to steal their chubby larvae as wasp food. The V. mandarinia became the doomsday spirit insect for the start of the COVID-19 times. May 29th, 2020 is the time frame on that. As of late July, there have been no confirmed sightings this year of the hornets in Washington, the state at the center of the buzz in the United States, but trapping efforts are underway. In that innocent early time, the ESA's list of preferred common names didn't have an entry for the species. Murder hornets was way too tabloid. The hornets don't hunt people. Frontline scientists dealing with invaders in the Pacific Northwest took up the name Asian giant hornets. That's not true because we called them Asian giant hornets back in 2006 when I was debating on animal forums. What are you even talking about? They didn't have a common name. They did. Maybe it wasn't on the books with the ESA, but they certainly had the Asian giant hornet common name most places in the world. Yet both Asian and giant troubled Chris Looney of the Washington State Department of Agriculture in Olympia. Asian is at best neutral and uninformative, he wrote when proposing an alternative name to ESA. All 22 species of Vespa hornets have some part of their range in Asia. So mentioning the continent does pretty much nothing to clarify which species is under discussion. At worst, though, connecting Asia and nervous making insect feeds racist fears, Looney argued. He warned about recent rise in hate crimes and their odious behavior directed at Asian people descent in countries, people of Asian descent in countries across the globe. He had heard multiple grumblings about the hornets as another unwelcome thing from China, he said. The current invaders came from elsewhere in Asia. I think in Japan was where they came from because of the big Japanico. With such concerns in mind, ESA has launched the Better Common Names Project to fight racism embedded in names. In 2021, this effort led to retirement of a cringy old name for what is now the spongy moth, which we just talked about. Looney urged that a hornet's common name avoiding linkage or linking Asian with a large insect that inspires fear is under eradication. The trouble with just calling it a giant is that other hornets also grow whoppingly big. One, Vespa-Soros, is mostly subtropical, or as I said, those Vespa-Soros, like George Soros, Vespa-Soros, turned up as a large one hornet surprise in Vancouver in 2019. These hornets grow about the same size as V. mandarinia and also will mass slaughter honeybees. The new name declaration finesses both size and geography based on rough distribution in the native Asian range. V. mandarinia is now the northern giant hornet, and V. sorer is the southern giant hornet. Comparing the native ranges, okay, and you have a map that kind of shows. The decision is official in the sense of selection by relevant institution, but ESA can only enforce name usage in its own publications. Other groups may decide to follow ESA rules, but there is no central authority in the free-for-all fizz of common names. A field guide writer can choose among folk traditions and languages, or even just make up names. I ignore common names anyway, says James Carpenter, a hornet specialist at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. It's an amusing conceit to think that they can be regulated, right? That's my opinion on it too. But what matters to scientists are the Latin names, and ESA's rethink does nothing about the northern giant's formal scientific name, Vespa mandarinia or V. mandarinia. It dates from 1852, and indeed it is a reference to Asia. Yeah, Mandarin specifically, says evolutionary biologist, entomologist Jessica Ware, also at the American Museum of Natural History. She is president of ESA and a strong advocate for better common names. The scientific name, however, follows intricate rules overseen by an international governing body. Making changes will be a challenge to do should people decide to do it, she says. Well, if we're going to change, and listen, if we're going to change scientific names for arthropods, there's other places I'd rather start than with Asian giant hornets. And I don't think that northern giant hornet is more descriptive, unless they're saying that both Sorer and mandarinia were both called Asian giant hornets previously. Then they could call them northern Asian giant hornets and southern Asian giant hornets. But I don't think that there's any reason though why we would have to get rid of the term Asian. It's a geographical location, it's not a people. It's not a race, and there are so many organisms that have Asian in their name. Asian, the main one that comes to my mind right now is Asian black bear. It distinguishes it from the North American black bear. And they're different species. There's Asian leopards, which are distinct from African leopards, different subspecies. So distinguishing what continent that an organism comes from is not in any way disparaging to the race. The scientific name mandarinia, that is definitely specific to a race of people. So that might be something to talk about. But as far as the common name, I don't necessarily agree with this. I did agree with the the spongy moth's old name because that was derogatory, and the people who were known by that name have a preferred name, and that word is used as a derogatory term. I don't know why I said it earlier on the stream. I should not have. Anyway, so that is our science for today. Return of the alleged murder hornets. Once again, they keep popping up in our subject for the science on this show, and I just love it because I love hornets and I love hymenopterans. I love arthropods in general, though. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up for the day. It's a little shorter show today. That's all right, but I am going to go and mess with my Halloween crab. I want everybody to remember to be kind and take care, and we will definitely be seeing you next time.